Hey Brick Bloggeteers, Will here, and today we're taking a preview of set 43225, The Little Mermaid Royal Clamshell. Now this is 1,808 pieces and will retail for $160 in the US. Now this is a set designed for adults, and it is designed to be an art piece, not so much a play set. It is important to note how you can display this. You do not want to display it from the back because it doesn't look very good. So if you're planning to display this anywhere, make sure you have a wall to back that part of it up. The characters in there are all from the new Little Mermaid movie. We have Triton, the king, who has a bit of a tan. He has an older style fishtail, as well as armor printed on his minifigure torso. His headpiece is pretty interesting. It's a giant helmet that goes over a blank minifigure head. So the face that you actually see is part of that helmet and not part of the minifigure head like you see with most giant beard and headpieces. Ariel has a darker complexion. She has dark red hair. She has more of a teal tail and coloring. All the female mermaids in here have dual molded tails, so this is a different piece than we've seen before. The tail fins are actually thinner and more detailed than any other sitting mermaid style. Typically we've seen thicker fins, kind of like what Triton has. In fact, Triton is probably the original mermaid tail from what I remember. But Ariel has metallic printing, as do all her sisters. So they really do pop in the right lighting. Moving on to the left side of your screen, we got one of her sisters floating in the sea. That's Karina. She's the lightest of all of them, even lighter than Triton. Her hair, of course, purple. She has more bluish coloring throughout her entire outfits, with that very straight hair, which I have no idea how she does under the sea. On the right side of your screen, we go over to Ariel's other sister, Indira. She has more of the flesh tone that matches actually Ariel's skin. Her coloring is more coppery in color with her scales and tailpiece like that. The other character you get is going to be hard to see inside the set. It's going to be Ursula. She's going to be pretty much the same as we've seen in the original Disney collectible minifigure series. Purple skin, white hair, a big octopus body, very bulbous, very larger than life. Now if we look at her in the set, she's buried kind of deep in there into her layer, which is going with the kind of disguised floating element that I was talking about in the article, where it controls your viewpoint, so it's hard to see the brick that she's standing on, unlike the other two sisters, which are just floating out there and you can easily see the bars. She has more of a stronger optical illusion. Now the last characters we get are both Flounder and Sebastian. Now with the new live action movie, they were trying to go for less of a cartoony look and more of a realistic look. So Sebastian, basic red crab. You have red crabs, you have a Sebastian figure. Flounder, on the other hand, is very different. Actually looks more like a fish, which is good and bad. If you like the character, it could be bad. If you like more fish, could be good. His character is more white than yellow than what we've seen in the movies, the animated film anyway. So he has a little bit of yellow into him, a lot of black striping throughout. Otherwise, the other things you get are just a lot of different fish in different colors, positioned all throughout the entire model. Now the model itself is probably the most interesting thing about this set because of all the odd angles to achieve this fanned look. You actually see a good example at the top of the model how they layered the plates to create the platform that all these scenes are built on. Of course, the scenes being the throne room, Ariel's stash of wonders, and Ursula's dark lair. Now, the base itself that this kind of fan thing is built on is kind of looks like a M when you actually build it. It goes straight up the middle, straight on the back, and then it has two kind of legs that don't connect back into the middle. And it's these things that you build off of. What's surprising is that very little of it is Technic pieces. There are a few Technic pieces, and that's mostly in the back. You can actually see Technic pieces on the back on these sides, and those aren't used as Technic pieces in that using like pins and such. They're used because they're angled braces, and it's more the shape of the brick that they're using, not the Technic capabilities. The only time we actually use Technic elements is right in this center section, right in around this area. You actually have some rectangular Technic pieces that are used with Technic pins. For the most part, this is all Lego system. So what that means is when you're actually building, you have a lot of sideways builds so that you can distribute the weight, distribute the stress of the model, so you don't have automatic weak points. That makes for a very confusing build while you're going at it. It's going to be put together like nothing you've built before, because most of the time when it gets to this type of size, Lego leans to Technic because of its strengths there. This one is using snot pieces with studs on the sides, uses brackets all over the places, puts them in weird positions because that's how it's going to eventually line up, but you don't know that until like 20 steps down the line. The most delicate part of the model is going to be on these sides. They're actually connected in with hinge plates in 2 points, as well as a bar and clip connector kind of in the back to help stabilize the whole thing. Otherwise, the rest of this is all built on random studs you find here and there, and then they're just kind of pressed together to look like they form a continuous shape. Now, the problem that a lot of people will see if you just look at a picture of this set is in harsh light with a high definition camera, the gaps are really going to stand out. And that can be a problem when you're trying to, well, sell the set or being convinced that it's a set for you. The nice thing is, when you see it in person, a lot of that harsh lighting and emphasis on shadows is kind of taken away. And so it looks like a much nicer set than what's actually photographed. And it makes for a good looking set because it uses the same colors wherever there is gaps in places. So that kind of just lets your eyes skim over it. And the shadows don't stand out as much. So hopefully you find all this interesting. If you do want to actually change this over to reflect the animated Little Mermaid, you can go and find the Ariel that matches that style with the collectible minifigure Disney Series 1. If you want a Sebastian and Flounder that match those, look for the Disney Princess line. There are some Ariel sets out there that have those characters that are styled in the animated style, so they're more cartoonish. Make a couple of those changes and you're pretty good. The animated does have more of her sisters, so I'm not sure if this means that in this new movie she's going to have fewer sisters. That can't really help with. The Ursula, like I said, pretty much the same, and this Triton works just right with the old animation. Also, the scenes match the animation, and that's one of the designer choices. They said we wanted so that if you are a fan of the animated or the new, you're going to be happy with the scenes they chose here. That will do it. So again, this is set 43225 for 160. The Little Mermaid Royal Clamshell.